Thursday on Friday on Thursday. Woo, Nerd Den.
It's like Christmas in July, right?
It is. I know. Well, usually we do a different stream on Thursday, but tonight we're doing Lore Game, or we're doing. I don't even know anymore. We're doing Nerd Den.
Nerd Den.
Uh, yeah. How you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah. Great. Well, that was the show, everybody. See you later. Happy 4th of July. So, a couple things to talk about, man. Some really crazy stuff today and this week. Um, I guess the first thing that's on top of my mind is Jim Shooter. Uh,
Yeah.
you guys heard about Jim Shooter passing away?
Yep.
I
Yep.
did not. No.
Yeah.
Um,
Michael Masden too, from
yep,
Pulp Fiction.
yep.
Or not? Was he in
Um,
Pulp Fiction?
he was in Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir
He
Dogs,
was in Kill Bill
Right.
and a
Right.
bunch of others. Who Andrew, who is Jim Shooter? For those that might not know.
I have no idea. Do you not know?
Andrew. Of course I know.
Not. Well, then tell us. I know
Well,
who
I
he
was
was.
just I was just passing the ball to you, bro. Jesus.
You know what's so funny? I was reading an article that had all these snippets from different creators, and they're all saying glowing things about him. And you know, every single one of them who knew him personally hated his guts because he was probably one of the meanest, most demanding editors in chief at Marvel ever, and people hated him for it. But he was good. He introduced a lot of things to Marvel Comics, and a lot of people were looking back on him going, you know, he was prickly and there were stories, but, you know, we miss him, you know, whatever. The one person, I didn't read every single one, the one person that wrote something and still took a dig at him was Eric Larson.
Really? That doesn't surprise me. Eric Larson's an asshole.
Eric Larson brought up the fact that it was Jim Shooter who was the editor-in-chief on his first published work with Marvel, and they misspelled his name in the credits.
Oh, no.
And he had to bring it up. He brought it up in the little blurb.
He brought it up that they misspelled his name in the credits on his first comic?
He had to bring it up. He had to take a dig at the guy.
Was it a real dig or was it a joke?
No, it was his. I read it because it was shorter. I wasn't reading people that had like dozens and dozens of paragraphs long, because all they were doing was pretty much saying the same thing over and over again. He was the EIC of Marvel, and he did this and he did that, and Secret Wars this and Secret Wars that, and I was looking for the more personal, you know, interaction.
Chopping up Mike Zeck's artwork.
Yeah. There was one person I forgot who it was, said that he went to a dinner with a bunch of creators, and the group wanted to go to Hooters, and the creator was saying, you know, I have a daughter and this is really uncomfortable for me going to a place like this. And he said Jim Shooter was sitting there just drinking water like he was, and he leaned over to him and said, are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm really uncomfortable in this place. And the two of them had like a private conversation and then got to know each other, but they were both uncomfortable at Hooters while everybody else was having a good time and talking about the girls and so forth. They were just involved with just their conversation and ignoring everybody else. And that would probably very much be something I'd be like, you know. But yeah, he was editor-in-chief of Marvel during a time when there were a lot of really interesting things going on. Secret Wars was probably one of the biggest things he's known for.
He was like 26 when he became editor-in-chief, too.
Well, he started when he was a teenager. He started writing comics when he was a teenager, yeah. And he was summarily dismissed from Marvel. They didn't like him, and they got rid of him. And he went and he worked for Valiant, and he turned Valiant into, you know, the next big thing, because they were competing alongside Image. And what was really funny is back in those days, people that collected comics knew Image as the company with the artists.
Mhm.
and they knew Valiant as the company with the writers.
The writers. Yeah.
They were known for good story and good characters, and Image was known for the art. Wasn't necessarily good stories, wasn't necessarily good characters. It was known for the art. And then he got summarily dumped from Valiant and went on to create Broadway comics, which none of those ever did anything.
Mhm.
It was a losing situation.
But he had a big success with paper cuts, I think, with Scholastic, right?
I have no idea. I don't know he did
Yeah,
anything.
he was doing a bunch of books. He ended up doing a lot of stuff with Scholastic and their book division, I think.
Behind the
Um,
scenes type of stuff, or he wasn't
no,
creating at
like
that time, was he?
no, I think he was like like working on like executive stuff, I think.
Right. Stuff where
Yeah.
his name wasn't probably the driving factor, you know.
Right. I don't know. I don't know about that with paper cuts,
Because
but
honestly, if you ask me if he did anything after Broadway comics, I tell you no. Not that I'm aware of.
no, I think
If he
he
did
was
stuff with Scholastics, then
pretty sure. Yeah.
wasn't aware of it.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
I'm sure there's a Wikipedia page out there.
Well, I think the most interesting thing that I took away from Shooter is that he had, hey Richard, what's up? Richard says, good evening, my friends. I pray all is well with you, and especially you, Avery.
Hey, what's up?
And yeah, he had um he had a method for writing comics, and one of the reasons people hated him. Carrots, what's up, Carrots? How you doing, man? Happy Thursday. I'm doing a little Friday on Thursday thing. One of the things that Jim Shooter did, he had a really interesting writing structure, and I think he forced a lot of people to stick to it. Hold on, Avery, is that you? There's a clicking sound. Sorry, guys.
So,
No, no, or maybe it was Andrew. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, he had this format, and I'm actually curious if Avery and Andrew knew about this because I didn't actually know about it. I found out about it later because I was reading his blog. He has a really good blog, and I've been reading it for years, and it's really interesting. But he had this format that was called 777 writing. It was basically Carrot said thought maybe this was an episode of The Last of Us with the clicking. Yeah, man, sorry about that. Um, but yeah, it's called a method called 777, and it was kind of a modified version of or a bolt-on version to Stan's Marvel method. And he talks about it on his blog. I highly recommend reading it. But basically, the TLDR of it is that he felt that every issue was somebody's first comic, right? Every comic is somebody's first comic. And so every single comic book, no matter like what story you're telling, you're not writing for the trade, you're not writing for a movie, you're writing for comic. It's a periodical. It comes out monthly. And so he really was, and later on he was really against, at least to the best of my knowledge, like this cinematic style, where it's okay if you have a cinematic style of writing, but if you're picking up one of the problems that comic industry has is if you're picking up issue 4 of 6 and that's your first book, you don't have any clue what's going on because they're just continuing the story from issue 1, 2, and 3 because they're writing it now in more of a cinematic show, and this was more soap opera at the time. It was more um, periodical, right? So 777 was his method, and that was that basically you have seven pages that introduce the characters and introduce the setup, right? And introduce the characters' powers, right? Like again, that's why if you read those comics from the 90s, like in the first couple of pages, you had the call outs where it's like Cable, Storm, and it's like Scott Summers, get over here. Like they're always kind of projecting the names of the characters because it's somebody's first comic. So, I'm just going to use my laser blast to destroy this, this robot in the, whatever. Like they're proclaiming that there was a reason for that because they needed to, in as short amount of time as possible, onboard somebody who didn't know what the power was or who this character was or what was going on, they had to break them in. So it was 7 pages to set up the characters and display the power of the characters. Then it was 7 pages of action where it's just fighting, right? Just action. And then 7 pages that sets up the drama and the story for the next issue. Now, it doesn't mean you had to go those 7 pages in order. It's not like you had to do 7 pages here and then go 7 pages there. You just had to have if you did a total of 21 pages and over the course of your story in that comic, it was 777, you had a comic from the 70s to the 90s, basically. And that's the model that works. You can't deny the sales. You can't deny the progress. I guess, was Shooter in the 60s as well? Or was he in the 70s? He was like 70s and 80s, right? Pretty much.
I'm reading his bio right now, and it was mid 70s is when he first started with
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, Dusty. How's it going, Dusty?
Now I checked. It doesn't say anything about Scholastics. What it does say is in his
Can you hear
last
me now?
years.
Yeah, we hear you, buddy.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Just reading
Sorry,
something.
continue, Andrew. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
You have my
here.
permission.
Thank you. It says here in his last years. I was just waiting for Dusty to interrupt again. Love you, Dusty. In his last years, Shooter worked as a consulting editor and freelance writer for Custom Comics Company Illustrated Media. So I'm not sure if that was associated with Scholastics or not, but they don't list Scholastics anywhere in here. So I don't think he did work for Scholastics.
Look up at Paper Cuts, because I remember him doing
Anything
stuff
about
with it.
Paper Cuts?
No?
No?
Well, I'm pretty sure. That's how I met him,
Okay.
so.
Well,
But whatever. Carrots has a good question. He says, do some comics not do the 777 thing and do more of a cinematic style? If so, do they have a marked drop in sales because of it? I don't know. That's a really, really good question. I would say that the 777 method hasn't been used. Well, it's anecdotal evidence, right? Like the 777 method probably hasn't been like purposefully driven since the 90s, since like the 2000s. The Mark Millar style of like cinematic writing, basically a 6-issue miniseries, it's a screenplay that kind of took over. I wouldn't say that. It's hard to say if it like increased sales or there's a drop in sales because of that, because there's certainly been comics that followed the 7-7 method that bombed, and there's been comics that follow more cinematic style or screenplay style that succeed. With that said, I do think there is evidence to suggest that without the 777 method, where it's 7 pages of introduction of the characters and the characters' powers, 7 pages of action scenes and fighting and kind of the action part, and 7 pages of drama and character relationships and setting up the story arcs. I think without that, if you go into a shop or you pick up a comic and it's like number 17, and you open it up and there's just stuff happening, you're either buying it for the art or you're not buying it. Because if you jump into that story in the midpoint and there's nothing to hook you in, that where you can kind of establish yourself as understanding what's going on, why buy it? Especially nowadays when the book is like $4 or $5, $6 an issue for 20 pages. Like that's just not going to happen. So I do think there is proof that that's a really good model. Like if you're, I guess it depends on your purpose, right? On the flip side, I also could see from the more screenplay side of things, I could see how doing the 777 method of writing could really screw up your story as like a cinematic storyline kind of a thing. If you're trying to make something that feels like an episode or trying to make something that feels like a film, and basically every 20 minutes, because you figure a page is a minute, every 20 minutes you're having to say, stop, Spider-Man, no people don't know that I'm Spider-Man and my real name's Peter Parker and I live with my aunt. Like you basically that's why that's in every single comic book. That's also why everybody knows it. That's why everybody knows, great power comes with great responsibility, right? Like because it was like it's drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled. Um, because it's like establishing that character over and over. It's like The Simpsons, right? Like if you look at The Simpsons for animation, when you go through a story clock for like an animated show like The Simpsons, you end up where you start. Meaning all the drama that happens in a television show, like an animated cartoon, resolves itself by the end, right? So like Bart Simpson never gets older. It's been 35, whatever, 40 years that show's been on or whatever it's been. The kids never get older, right? They don't move out. If a character dies, if you're watching Family Guy and a character gets torched, the character's back the next episode. South Park, they kill Kenny every episode, right? Like it resets the clock. So that's sort of a variant on the 777 where you're reintroducing the characters every single episode that go on that adventure, and then at the time they hit the clock, you're basically just starting it over with another adventure, right? You can hook into multiple episodes, can have kind of like a nice arc, but basically you're reintroducing the characters all the time. So 777 does kind of model animation like animated shows a little bit. Carrot says, curious if the relationship you might lose from the people who don't want to jump into the middle of a series are made up by the people who might buy the entire series just because they get hooked on the story. Yeah, 100% true. And it's also, to be 100% fair, it's also people's tastes. Like tastes certainly have changed, and you're like, yeah, I think it's 100% fair to say, okay, well, how many people are actually buying it in a comic shop versus buying the trade in Barnes and Noble or from Amazon, right? So you're probably right. Like I think the 777 method of writing that Jim Shooter created and sort of like really drilled in. On one side, it's brilliant. It was brilliant for the time period because that was the format. It was monthly comics. There weren't really graphic novels, like I barely any. I mean, it was really it was just comics or magazines. So it really was the predominant way to do it. I think there is still value in that framework for books that want to still do a more cinematic style. Like, okay, maybe we don't have to introduce the character every 20 pages and read, but demonstrating the powers, moving the story forward, action, like these are kind of basic things. And if you're thinking like, oh, well, what comic or book or magazine wouldn't move the story forward or wouldn't have action or wouldn't have like a display of power or tell you who the characters are? Most modern comics, I mean, Andrew is a retailer. He can tell you, Andrew, how many comics have you seen where you open it up and the entire issue is like two people sitting at a coffee shop eating pie, petting a cat, and you're like, what's the story? And you don't even know by the end of the issue.
It happens a lot more with modern comics. I hate to say.
Yeah.
But it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So from my point, it's sort of like there are things like I think maybe it's sort of like the way that I look at the 777 method is like an update. It's like would I do monthly issues in the 777 method now? No, because there's no chance in hell I can do a monthly issue. Nobody can. Nobody's doing monthly issues because it's a grind. Could you modify the 7-7 method to make sure that every single issue in like a 6-issue arc that's kind of a story, even if you want to make it more like a cinematic film, could you include those in every issue? Absolutely, because those things are that's where the entertainment is. If you don't have that if you don't have character development and introduction of characters, like character refinement, character relationships, dramatic arcs, and action, you don't have a story. And I would argue that if you have an issue that doesn't have that, then when the whole thing is collected, even if you're doing it for like the book, that's a boring book. Like no one's going to buy it because nothing's happening and no one knows what the hell you're talking about, right?
I
Um,
like what Nexus did with that situation. They didn't do that. The story would just flowed. They had a recap on the
yeah,
inside cover that brought you up to speed. So if it was your first Nexus comic, you could get the gist of it
yeah.
off that little paragraph on the inside cover. That way you
Nexus
didn't,
was great.
because that was written like a superhero comic, but for an adult who doesn't have to be reminded once an issue. I'm Peter Parker. I live with my aunt. You know, it
Yeah,
just had that little blurb. You know,
it
with
was
a
kind
little.
of like sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, buddy. Go for it.
It just had that little blurb on the inside cover. Okay, now I got the gist of what's going on, and let me read the book. That was
Yeah,
good. Because
yeah,
when you read some of those stories, those old Marvel DC stories that are like that, there's a lot that's really good about them. But sometimes that shit gets a little hokey when you read it in your 30s and 40s. You're like, oh, ooh. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's fine when you're 12 or 15. You don't notice how cheesy it can come off.
Right.
And I understand why it's there, and I don't have a problem with it. In Spider-Man, it's fine. But
Yeah.
I when you go and you read Nexus, it's like, oh, it's that type of superhero comic, but it's written more sophisticated.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring up Nexus because Nexus, I would equate that blurb almost to like the crawl screen at the beginning of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Oh, wait. Andrew's hijacking. Hold on. Oh, dude, you got the Minecraft poster.
You did request one, did you not?
Dude, yeah, my kids are gonna love it. Are you
Do you
kidding?
think is this a good one?
That's a great one, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's two of them here, so I'll put one aside. Unless you
Oh,
have two of
awesome.
them.
No, just one. Good Lord.
Yeah, Mike just gave me a big stack, and I said, is there anything good in there? He said, there's a Minecraft in here, and I said, perfect. I know somebody who really
Oh man, my kids would love it.
Yeah.
We'll have to frame it.
Consider it put aside for you.
Awesome, thank you,
That
buddy.
was it. Sorry,
Oh
I
yeah,
wasn't trying to
no,
hijack. I was
that's
just
awesome.
trying to get stuff done.
That's awesome. So back to your point. Like, yeah, I kind of think that the Nexus, what Mike Barron and Steve Rude did with Nexus, like that intro crawl screen is almost like, or that intro blurb is like the Star Wars crawl screen where it just sets everything up, right? And what Barron and Rude did, though, really, they still stuck to the 777, right? Like, you still see Nexus use his powers. You still see them, you still see the girl calling him Horatio. Like, there's still all of those elements in the 7-7. They're just really good. Like I said, it doesn't have to be cut and dry. Like, it's not 7 pages strict and 7 pages strict and 7 pages strict. You can shuffle that however you want. But there's always action in those Nexus books. There's always drama in those Nexus books, and there's always that grand story. And you always know who the characters are. Like they always reintroduce those characters. Baron is 100% in that 777 camp.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. I mean, it's a superhero story. You know, he's got all this power. He's got baby mama drama. He's got a girlfriend. He's got a best friend. He ends up going on adventures with his best friend's kid because his best friend ends up a politician.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. And so Carrot says, that's a fair point about tastes. I read a ton of science fiction, and I prefer standalone novels over series, but others are opposite. Yeah, I think I think it's the end goal. Like if my goal is to make a book that uh, feels like a film, but I'm going to do it as a comic book first, I still have to abide by the comic book rules. Otherwise, the comic will fail to sell, and I may not actually be able to afford to make the book, right? So you have to kind of, someone like Mark Miller who sold like his entire IP for like 30 million plus and has everything being turned into shows at Netflix. Like if his comics don't sell, he makes everything as comics and then makes them as books. But if the comics don't sell, it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter because the show has already been sold. He's
Yeah.
releasing it as comics to test the
Yeah.
story, and just to draw some attention to the story
I
because
think
the show's coming out.
I think he said when he does the comic, he actually gives most of the money to the artist
Yeah,
because he makes his money from the show.
yeah, and
From the
he's an
licensing deal.
executive. He makes his money
Yeah.
from the licensing deal, and he's an executive. He gets like I'm pretty sure he gets like a base pay rate as well. So he's
Yeah.
doing fine.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah,
the thing,
yeah.
like,
Most of the money for the comic goes to the artist, I think.
Right. So if he is able to break those conventions now. Now, granted, he also I would say that Mark Miller is kind of the guy that brought in the cinematic. Mark Miller came in and really it was not like a huge discovery, but it was actually kind of comics is real slow in their innovation. But he was basically like, wait, we could do 6-issue miniseries. A 6-issue miniseries is 120 pages. 120 pages is a screenplay. So basically, I could have my screenplays as graphic novels. Why don't we just do graphic novel screenplays? And so he started doing graphic novel screenplays, and he was doing
Yeah.
it for Marvel and DC and all that. And so all of a sudden, they started reading like novels. I mean, his stuff, The Ultimates, which I have over here, like The Ultimates, right here. This was the basis for the MCU. So basically, and it's like great art if you've never seen it. But look, I mean, you can even see like even the shots are widescreen cinematic, right? So this was like full blown like widescreen cinema. Uh, let's make it feel like a movie as much as possible. So they went all in on this, and it's like, I mean, it's a great story. Volume 1, 2, and I think 3 are just excellent, excellent books. But it's also like it reads like the MCU. It's like watching a Marvel movie. And then you read it and you're like, wow, this actually I feel like I've seen this movie before. And you're like, yeah, it's because they based a lot of that vibe. It basically the Ultimates was sort of like the what if Marvel was in the real world, right? It was always supposed to be in the real world, but it had gotten a lot campier over the years. And so he was like, well, what if it existed in the real world today? So, but yeah, I think Shooter, um, I think it's hard, man. It's a hard legacy because that dude, like, you can't deny the success he had at the time. But I think in order to do that, he had to wrangle a bunch of creatives that wanted to do everything their way, and he was thinking more of a business guy that had to get shit done. You
Well,
know?
on his Wikipedia page, there's 3 quotes, one from Roy Thomas, one from John Romita Sr., and one from John Byrne, which actually addresses that. If you give me a minute, I'll read them to you.
Yeah, go for it.
Roy Thomas, who left Marvel following a contract dispute with Shooter, reflects on the 2005 on Shooter's editorial policies. When Jim Shooter took over, for better or for worse, he decided to rein in things in. He wanted stories told the way he wanted them told. It's not a matter of whether Jim Shooter was right or wrong. It's a matter of different approaches. He was editor-in-chief and had the right to impose what he wanted to. I thought it was kind of dumb, but I don't think Jim was dumb. I think I think the approach was wrong, and I don't think it really helped anything. John Romita Sr. said,
Wait, who said that?
Roy Thomas.
That was Roy. Really, Roy Thomas was kind of like I think it was the wrong move.
Yep. John Romita
Wow.
Sr. said, Shooter has been great for the first 2 or 3 years. He got the creative people treated with more respect, got us sent to conventions first class with our ways paid, and we thought the world of him. Then his Secret Wars was a big hit, and after that, he decided he knew everything, and he started changing everybody's stuff. John Byrne said similarly, Shooter came along just when Marvel needed him, but he stayed too long. Having very much, if as the hero, if you live long enough, you become the villain. Jim
Yeah.
Shooter that lived that statement. Shooter came along just when Marvel needed him, but he stayed too long. Having fixed just about everything that was wrong, he couldn't stop fixing. Around the time I left to do Superman, I said that I thought Shooter and Dick Giordano should trade jobs. It was DC that needed fixing then, and do so about every 5 years or so. Shooter had put Marvel into a place where all that was needed was a kindly father figure at the helm, and that was not Shooter. Secret Wars was when the trouble really kicked into high gear. We must never forget that Secret Wars began as a toy promotion. Shooter turned it into a way to reshape the Marvel Universe in his image.
Really?
Shooter was fired from Marvel on April 15th, 1987.
And that was after Secret Wars?
Yep.
I guess,
Yep.
obviously.
Secret Wars was a huge success.
I remember, yeah.
But Shooter was very, you do it my way or you get the heck out of here. And he had an idea, he had a design, he wanted it done his way, and nobody else could change his mind. And a lot of people despised him for it. But you can't argue with the success he brought to Marvel.
Right.
You know, he pissed people off, and sometimes you got to piss them off. But at the beginning, like John Romita Sr. said, he really fought for the creatives, and they loved him for it in the beginning.
In the beginning,
that's you know, you get the workers on your side, and then you screw them. You know, and that's kind of what may have happened. So
maybe it was a lot of it was just ego that hit him. You know, from a massive success. You know.
Yeah.
He's also the guy, I'm pretty sure, and you can check me on this, but I'm pretty sure he's actually the guy, and maybe this is part of why his ego got big, or maybe, I'm assuming. But it wasn't the Secret Wars he made a huge success. He was responsible for the whole G.I. Joe Transformers thing. And not only was he responsible for Transformers, he's responsible for naming all of those original Transformers. So Megatron, Optimus Prime, Starscream, Bumblebee, Jazz, all those characters he made up. The characters existed because it was a Japanese property, but when they came over, they were working on it first, and they needed names.
I don't think it was Jim Shooter that did that because
are you sure
he doesn't have G.I. Joe or Transformers?
Are you sure about that?
It wasn't actually. There was another writer. I forget his name, but
no. Am I thinking? Yeah. Who am I thinking of with that?
Yeah, he was. I don't remember his name, but he was Chinese or Japanese.
Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, and
Ralph Macchio. That was
it Ralph Macchio that did it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. There's actually a documentary on Netflix about how that happened, and what happened is that the guy who did it, he basically took the job because no one else wanted it because toy comics were considered low status. But he's the guy who basically, invented all that stuff. That makes sense.
On Jim Shooter's Wikipedia.
Was it Larry Hama?
Maybe it
was it Larry Hama?
I think it was Larry Hama. Yeah,
Larry Hama.
Why am I Ralph Macchio? I don't know why that came up, but yeah.
Well, Ralph Macchio was an editor, so that's fair. But I think it was Larry Hama because Larry Hama was the writer on G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, yeah.
Still is, I think.
On some of them, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't show him Shooter as if he may have been editor in chief at the time that Transformers and G.I. Joe was at Marvel. He wasn't directly involved and credited as editor or writer or creator or anything. So
okay, yeah. So maybe give credit to credit's due then. So
keeping you honest.
Larry Hama. No, you got to, man. Here I got something else I want to show you guys. Totally different topic, but so the artist, the artist Jason Fabok.
Fabok, yes.
Yeah.
I've always said Fabok.
Fabok, it's probably Fabok. Fabok sounds better. I just wanted to share. This is he's going to Montreal Comic Con, and I just wanted to share some of his artwork. Like these are some of his sketches. I was like, Jesus, dude. Like, now I know he's a really detailed guy, but man. You see that?
Oh yeah.
So wait till you see the Batman. I was like, oh my god. So here's the first Batman. Look at that.
Looks very Jim Lee-ish, but
it is very Jim Lee-ish. Yeah.
I think he modeled a lot of his style after Jim Lee.
Oh yeah. I mean, but it's a little more rendered and painterly than Jim Lee. it's not as like Jim Lee's now very edgy, you know?
Yeah. Didn't Jason Fabok do the 3 Jokers series?
Yes.
He did. Yeah.
All right, and so this one I love. Like that's just like the reflection off the head. Like God, that looks really good. Isn't that great?
Kind of gives me a Bolin vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's somewhere between Jim Lee and Brian Bolland. It's like comic book 90s, but
Finch.
also a little more realistic. Finch, yeah.
Yeah. I think Finch is definitely one of his influences.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Remember the
Isn't that
interview
cool, though?
Ethan did with him?
I know.
don't remember that.
I know he's been on Ethan's. I don't specifically remember it.
It was in the early days of the channel.
Oh, okay. Well, I probably have heard it, but I just don't remember it. He didn't do anything he didn't work on any projects with Ethan, did he?
No.
Okay.
It looks. I mean, this image. I could stare at this image all day. Like I kind of want that Batman head. That's so good.
Well, then you'll go blind.
I know. Anyway, I wanted to share. Let's see what else I got. I got some other things, but I don't know. Comic art, I love it. It's super good. Yeah, there's this little bit of news. I don't know if we're gonna give 2 shits about it. Carrot says, wait, I missed this. Carrot says, looks like a cross between the Joker and the Walking Man from The Stand. Very cool. Yeah, dude. Fabok is a great talent.
So on my live stream on Saturday after I got back from the trip, I was telling them all about me and Todd watching Brian Stelfreeze sign a book in which he went all out and did a sketch in the book. It was actually the art of Brian Stelfreeze, and he opened it up to the double page where it's all white and it just has the title on one page, and he started drawing in the corner with a brush pen. And I was telling my audience that I suck at brush pens. I know Avery has some really good control and probably could do something with one, but me, I don't even go near them for drawing like that. Maybe sketching or but not drawing. And Brian Stelfreeze started this image in the corner and built onto it. And when he was finally done, and I mean, he's literally just whipping the brush all over the page. And when he got done, I believe, I was actually stepped away, so I wasn't close enough to see. It was a Nightcrawler image. Am I right, Todd? You were standing right in front of him.
Yeah, it was super sick.
And it was just he took up the whole double page with the image, and it was like
I have a photo of it.
Okay, we'll share the photo then.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I took a photo and had to delete it. I had to delete the photo because I was standing behind because I was waiting for Todd to actually meet Stelfreeze and get a picture of the two of them together. Well, when he got done, the guy was holding the book up for him to take a picture, and Brian Stelfreeze's the lady that was there with him kind of went to take the picture, and I took a picture of the back of her head taking the picture of it, and the guy who was filming Brian working on the table told me that the girl did not want her picture anywhere on the internet. And I said, okay, no problem, I understand. So I deleted the picture. So I have no picture of the drawing because the back of her head was in mine.
So here's the picture, except just it's a little. I was taking it at an angle, so it's not flat. So just it looks a little strange, but it looks great in real life. It's just this looks a little strange just because of the angle I took it at.
Oh yeah, dude, that almost has a like a Steve Rude look to it a little bit, but I mean, it's definitely Brian.
It was so good. Like I know it looks like his head is really big and that arm is a little thin. Well, it's only because of the angle that I'm taking. It is a remarkably good drawing.
And he literally did the whole thing with a brush pen and just whoosh, 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 and it was amazing.
It was
Watching
really, really cool. Yeah, it was legitimately cool. I was kind of blown away. Yeah.
Well, Todd, tell the story of what you got Brian Stelfreeze to sign for you.
Oh yeah, yeah, I think I have him over here.
Because I was standing in line to get Jenny Frison to sign something for me and some buddies of mine, and I sent Todd over to get this book signed by Brian. My all-time favorite character is Batgirl, and this is a cover that Brian Stelfreeze did back in the early 90s, I believe. He did a painted cover. He did one for, I think he did one for Mr. Freeze, and he did one for, I forget who else. But this one is freaking awesome, and Todd went and met with him and got it signed by him for me. So I don't know. This is one that I had planned to get graded just to put up on my wall. Now I have to get it graded and put it up on my wall because fantastic. And
yeah,
Todd
I don't know if I can find. I don't know if I can find it right now. Like, I don't know where it is. I have it.
Lost it again?
No, I didn't lose it. I have it right here, but it's like I put it in my art area, and it's hard for me to find it.
I'm so sorry to put you on the spot like this.
Well, I didn't know.
That really sucks that you think that even though we mentioned we were going to talk about it.
Well,
and
hold on.
You couldn't be ready?
Well, no. I have 2 children that yell at me all day. It's the summer.
As they should.
Oh God. Well, if I can't find it, I'll just talk about it. Hold on.
Todd uses the "my 2 children" excuse like 16 times a day.
He does.
I do not. You hear them scream at me. It's not fair. You hear them scream at me.
If you ask him, Todd, why were you late? Or Todd, why do you look groggy? Or Todd, why is your underwear on backwards? Or no, I meant to say, why is your underwear on your head?
What?
You know?
What?
It's going to be because I have 2 kids.
That is. It's true. It has nothing to do with my condition.
I don't know. I talk to them sometimes on like the Zoom call. They stop by and they're just the sweetest, nicest, most obedient little children.
Never, dude. Don't you even start lying. Liar. I don't know where anything is right now. Andrew left and I cleaned up and now everything is gone.
Oh, don't blame me.
Hold on. I don't know. I don't see where I put the. I'm just gonna tell the story. Hold on. I'm gonna look at this one little place. The actual drawings, I know where they are, but I can't reach them. But I'll share these. Hold on.
They're not the greatest drawings in the world.
No, they're not. They're not really like magical drawings or anything. It's just a good story. So hold on.
Yeah, the story behind them is really cool. That's what I want to get at.
Yeah. So, all right. So, so that guy who drew that. Let me pull the photo up. So that guy who drew the Nightcrawler is a guy by the name of Brian Stelfreeze, and I'm gonna take a picture. Here's the picture. Got a nice, good. Andrew took a great picture. So that's Brian Stelfreeze and me, right? So Brian doesn't look that much older than me, but he's a little older than me. I'm not saying black don't crack, but black don't crack. Anyway, so the interesting thing here's the deal is like when I was in college in Atlanta, and I was really gung-ho on the whole comic thing, and I was going to graduate and I was going to jump into comics, and I really was determined, and I was like, well, at that point I just really didn't know what I didn't know about things, and I was like, well, I know there's like a lot of stuff that I'm missing. I just didn't feel like I was ready, but I wasn't ready. And in Atlanta at the time was the hottest artist studio, a studio called Gaijin Comics, Gaijin Studio. And Gaijin was a group, basically it's just a group of comic book artists that pay rent at the same spot. Like that's what it is. It's a studio where they all have desks and they're all working on their own freelance jobs, but they're sharing rent, and it gives them a little community while they work on these books. But this artist studio was basically made up of just badasses. We're talking Brian Stelfreeze, Jason Pearson, who you guys know that I love, rest his soul. Carl Story, the amazing inker, was there. Adam Hughes was there. I think Rick Mays was there at the time. Cully Hamner was there at the time.
Dave Johnson.
Dave Johnson had just left.
Okay.
Dave Johnson had just left, but I had met Dave earlier, and he was kind of one of the ones that told me about Gaijin. So, yeah, he had, I think, just left the studio, but Dave Johnson was a part of that studio for a while. And so I get
Tony
there.
Harris.
Tony Harris, but Tony Harris wasn't there at the time, but Tony Harris came afterward. But yeah, just brilliant. They all had the same, really kind of like that style, like they were all very technical artists, very good, clean art, like, just the best. So,
would you say any of them were similar?
No.
They all had their own unique styles. They were all easily identifiable. You could tell an Adam Hughes from a Cully Hamner, from a Brian Stelfreeze.
That's what made them so good. That's what made them so good.
It wasn't like Rob Liefeld's studio where everybody had to draw like Rob Liefeld.
Right.
Remember that when Image started? Chris. Yeah.
Well, not only did they all have their own unique styles, it was all in the same corner of like a matrix. Like it was all realistic, story-driven, really good detail and shadow. Like Adam Hughes is like a good girl artist, but he's just a gorgeous renderer. It was like gorgeous rendering, basically. Like but yeah, the fact that they all had really unique styles, you could tell. Cully Hamner, who was co-creator of if you ever saw the movie Red, he drew the book for that, right? That was his book. And Red 1 and Red 2 are like some of my favorite movies. But like by far, I love those two movies. Red 3, but still, I think it's phenomenal.
I don't think there was a Red 3.
Wasn't there a Red 3? I thought there was a Red 3.
No.
Okay, well then good. Then I'm good. Then the Red 1 and 2, I'm great. Red 4 was the worst. So anyway, so they had the studio. They had this Gaijin studio, and I don't remember. I wish I could remember what I was thinking or what, other than the drive to do this stuff. I don't remember what I was really going through my head. But I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna show up." I somehow got the address. I don't remember how I got the address, but I got the address.
Didn't you have a teacher that told you about it? I remember you saying somebody, either a teacher or a teacher's assistant, mentioned it.
Maybe. I don't remember
where the studio was, because
probably that. I mean, it had to be my network, and my network was at art school, so
right.
Possibly, yeah.
I remember something like that in the stories. Okay, you keep.
Yeah, that's a possible thing, man. I also might have just looked it up in the phone book at the time. I don't remember. But I don't think I did. I must have. Someone gave me the address.
I think you're going to need to explain to some of the audience what
a phone book is. Yeah, I know. A phone book. Anyway, so I got up the courage. I don't want this to be a 10-hour story. I got up the courage and I drove over to Gaijin Studios, and I just knocked on the door. Like I was shaking. I remember visibly like shaking, and I was so nervous because these are like my heroes, and I'm a college student, and they're gonna get mad at me because I didn't like make an appointment or anything. And they open the door, and the woman at the front lets me in, and I was like super nervous. I had my portfolio, and they were super welcoming, man. Super welcoming, like the friendliest, most welcoming. And Stelfreeze was the one who, and I didn't know who I was going to see. It wasn't like I was saying I want to go see Brian Stelfreeze at Gaijin Studios. I just wanted to be with these guys. Like I just knew those guys were phenomenal, and I loved buying their books. And I was like, they're all in the same place. I got to go meet them. And so, but Brian was the one that actually took time out of his day to come over to me, and he was super kind. And they had in the front area, like kind of by a little reception area, they had like a little corner area that had like a TV and a couch, and it was like reception. Really, it was just like a place to sit. but he took a look at my portfolio and he was like, "Oh, this is really good. This is cool." And I'll never forget it. And I told him this. So the way this is all coming about is, just to give a little bit of context, I meet him at the convention, okay? And I say, "I'm about to make you feel real old." And he's like, "Oh shit." Yeah, right? Didn't I say that? I said, "I love you, but I'm going to make you feel old." I said, and then I started telling him the story because he doesn't remember me. So this is all me telling Brian Stelfreeze this in person. So he looks at my portfolio and he's giving me pointers. This is really good. Oh, you need to work on that. And he turns to me and says, "I'll never forget it." And it's about as verbatim as I can get. But he said, "You know, 3-point perspective?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "What do you know about 150-point perspective?" And I was like, "What is that?" I was like, that's not a thing, you know. And he proceeded to give me a masterclass lesson on perspective, and I kept it. I have it right here. You can see my handwriting from like 1990, whatever. And there's nothing. These drawings are not special. They're not like super important, you know. It's just a master illustrator teaching a young kid about perspective. Well, I'm telling him these stories and I'm showing him all of these drawings and he's freaking out. And he gave me something else that I'll never forget. He said, well, before I get to that, I basically said, I want these are never going to leave my possession. There were 3 drawings in there that were actually somewhat drawings, right? Like one was a couple of characters in a room, distinguishable. You could tell what it was. You know, a couple of them were like panels and some people figures there, and one was like a supercar that was very. You could tell it was like a Selfreeze. But I mean, again, these are like 30-second drawings, and that's what I have somewhere buried over here, and I'll look for it in a second when I pass the mic to Andrew. But anyway, I had him sign it, and he said, and Andrew, you can tell me if this is not verbatim because I was in the moment, but I'm paraphrasing. But he said, "I tell people to do this stuff all the time, and nobody ever listens." He said, "You just made I can't remember, you made my day, my week, made my life, whatever. You just made me feel great because you actually did it." And I told him what I had done. I told him my history. I've worked at Cartoon Network. I got to work with Stan Lee, all this stuff. And he was like, you actually listen." And sure enough, and Andrew can attest, this motherfucking guy, God love him, all he does is teach people. I'm sitting in line for 30 minutes and he's teaching the guys in front of me how to do stuff. He's doing the Nightcrawler drawing, and while he's doing it, he's talking about the brush strokes. Right? He's just educating, and totally for free. I'm sure, I don't even know what he does right now. I don't know if he's 100% comics. I'm sure he teaches somewhere, but I'm just like, unbelievable. So, it was a really nice, you know what I mean? And I found out he lives now in North Carolina, so I'll have to see if I can
find out if he has a studio. Now, here's a funny part of this story. Every time we go to a convention and Todd sees Brian Stelfreeze, he'll wave to him and say hi to him in passing. And last year at Heroes Con was no exception. But at the time that we saw him, he was on the artist stage working on a painting. Todd, we can still hear you, right?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Well, yeah, it's okay.
A lot of noises, but
okay. Oh, I didn't know you can hear me shuffling back here. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just making sure you know. So last year at Heroes Con, he's up on the artist area doing a painting, right? And we're walking by. And this is what you say to one of your heroes, a superhero in your mind.
I'm a jackass.
He walks past Brian Stelfreeze, who's doing this painting. It's of Captain Marvel. And he goes, "Brian, keep sucking." And Brian's like, yeah, man. It was like, what did you just say? And the funny part of the story was, at the time, he was writing the name of the character above her, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And he misspelled Captain.
Yeah.
And we took a picture of it and went, I think he misspelled Captain. And I turned to Todd, I'm like, I wonder if he would think to himself, that's what you were talking about. Keep sucking.
Yeah.
He did fix it. Somebody pointed it out to him and he did fix it because we've seen the finished piece.
Yeah, he fixed the whole thing.
Like Instagram or something, and he fixed it. But it was like, but
it was pretty funny.
If he had remembered you, it would have been.
Well, see, that's the other thing too. Is like honestly, like I've talked to him plenty, and this is the time I kind of told him the story. But I also know that next year, if I went up to him, he wouldn't remember. Like, you know what I mean? You see so many people, but it's still important.
No, you know what, dude? He used to remember me when.
Well, Avery. Everybody would remember you. You're a very big person, like a tall, intimidating, muscular guy. So you have like a unique. You're like unique. I look like every white Jewish kid ever. So it's camouflage. We have to blend into the crowd.
Yeah.
Harder to get shot that way, right?
Yeah. We just have to look like all the goyim. Here, hold on. I'll show you the drawings I found him. I'll just show you two. I got 3 signed because he was doing 3 for free and then he was charging. I was like, well, I'm not paying for this. But the first one, like I said, these are not special like drawings, but they're just things that I'm never going to give away. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like a couple of shapes in a room and he's got a signature down there. And the best one was his super quick sketch of a supercar. Again, we're not talking like rocket, it's not like going on an auction anytime soon, but to me, they mean the world to me, because he was honestly, I mean, and you guys can kind of attest to this. I think he was really like the first comic book pro to give 2 shits enough to sit down, at least with me, and actually show me something. Other than Mark Beecham, right? Mark Beecham might have been the first, but Stelfreeze actually sat me down multiple times because I did go back. You know what I mean? Like once I went once, I went back several times. Not enough to bother anybody, and I stopped going because I didn't want to be an asshole. But I probably could have stayed, and I could have totally taken advantage and just been like, let me make photocopies for you guys, and I could have absolutely had a job there. But whatever. You know what I'm saying though? Like
you probably would have pissed somebody off, and then
I probably would have just ended up inking. I probably would have just been an inker, my friend Tom Feaster, who ended up being the inker for Tony Harris on Starman.
I know you. You would have pissed somebody off.
I probably would have pissed somebody off.
Yeah, and you guys got a different education from Mark Beecham than I did because I didn't get to go up to his hotel room like you guys did. So.
Yeah. Well, really, all that wasn't even an education. It was more of just he just saw we were staring at his portfolio the entire time, and so he invited up to his hotel room, and he was just relaxing, and we were just staring at his portfolio. You know what I mean? He would just allowed us to kind of really move things from the portfolio to the bed. He just put that giant thing on the bed and was like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. And he was talking about shots, but it wasn't it wasn't like anything crazy. But Stelfreeze educated. Stelfreeze actually was mentor kind of level, which was it was awesome.
Well, I'm glad you had an opportunity to talk to him and see him, and we had a wonderful, wonderful trip.
I think, and not, I know this kind of leaves Avery and Zach out of the convo a little bit, but I think that was probably the best Heroes Con. I was thinking about this, Andrew. and everybody can kind of comment on this, but like it's this trip was kind of remarkable because we've been to Heroes Con plenty, right? And it's, I would say it's like 85% the same every year. I think that's fair. The same dealers, the same creators. There's always some new people. Like I also got to meet Craig Thompson a few times, which is awesome. Your brand new friend, whatever his name is,
Samuel,
right? Your new friend Samuel, and you can tell that story in a second. Avery will get a kick out of that story. Zach will too, and but so really, I'm never expecting anything different because it's always the same, give or take 10 to 15%. But in all honesty, man, like this trip, this show was so fucking good. It was so good. And like, I don't know why, like, it just felt different. Maybe it was because I got to meet Craig Thompson, who's an actual artist I look up to. Maybe it was talking to Selfreeze. Maybe it was because we found a bunch of books. Like I got a stack of books, but like it was a really good trip, man.
Honestly, I think for me, I went with a specific list of things I needed to get done. I had books I wanted to get signed, and I wanted to find books for the store, and I did all of it. And had a great time doing it. There wasn't a single thing. I did not leave the convention regretting anything. There was nothing I regretted not getting. So it was good.
Yeah, maybe that's it too. Like it was filling, you know what I mean? It filled me up. I got a bunch of good books. I got a bunch of stuff to look at. I got stuff for the kids. Got to talk to some creators out of respect. And what else can you ask for?
Yeah, we went out to dinner with an old friend, had a wonderful time.
Oh shit, he actually emailed me. I got to email him back.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell Avery and Zach the Samuel story?
I love how we just don't even mention me anymore.
Oh hey, what's up, Dusty?
It's like I don't exist. It's fine.
Well,
Well, we confused you with Zach because all you ever see is the letter. Don't actually see the person. So
yes, I'm on my cell phone, so I'm not on my computer.
To be fair, I saw 4 squares, and I thought the 4 squares was Avery and Zach, not Avery and Dusty. So Zach is now back in the show. Sorry, man, I didn't see that. So tell a story, Andrew.
So on day 2, Todd completely forgot to bring his Dark Knight Returns Artist Edition in order to get it signed by Klaus Janson. He totally forgot to bring it, but he brought it the second day, and we're on our way to the convention center, and we're trying to map out exactly what we're going to do. And Todd went by Klaus Janson's table the day before, but he completely forgot to look to see if there was any like only signing during these times type of thing. So he did not remember to do that. So we weren't sure. We knew that Craig Thompson was going to be there at a specific time for signing. And so we gamed it as we're going into the convention. And I said to him, let's go first to Klaus Janson. If he's there, get him to sign your book, and then we'll move on. If he's not there, read the sign, find out when he's going to be there, and we'll game plan for that. Then we'll head over to Craig Thompson's because Todd wanted to buy one of his hardcovers and get that signed. And I said, this is what we'll do. We'll go to Klaus Janson. If you can get him to get it signed, give me the book. I'll take it back out to the car. That way you don't have to walk around with it all day. You get in line for Craig Thompson, and when that's done, we'll go do. And we game planned the whole thing out, and it ended up working beautifully. He ended up going right to Klaus Janson, got the signature, got it done. No line, no waiting. And we later went by Klaus Janson's table, and he had a line of people at a later time. But Todd was able to walk up, hey, yeah, sign, pay, because he did charge. Pay, and then we went right over to Craig Thompson's table. So while he's waiting in line for Craig Thompson, I walk all the way back out to drop off the book. Then I come all the way back, And I walk back into the convention center, and Craig Thompson's like right there in the front. And as I walk back in, I can see Todd is there getting his stuff signed. So I'm like, perfect timing. God damn it, we're good.
And let me jump in. Let me just jump in to say, just to add a little tidbit. I've never get stuff signed. Like I think the only thing
that's not something we go for.
That's not something I really care about. The only thing that I ever got signed. There's really only two things that I can think of. One was this Klaus Janson book because I got Frank Miller to sign it. It's an artist edition. It's huge. I got Frank Miller to sign it, and that was in New York City. And now I got Klaus Janson to sign it. They were the dynamic duo on the book. And it's a legendary book. So I was like, okay, I wanted to do that. And then the only other thing that I really ever have been like got excited about a signing was this guy Craig Thompson, whose work Blankets was seminal, phenomenal book. And I just love the guy's style. I think he's fantastic. He's like pure novelist. He doesn't really draw comic books. He draws graphic novels, and it's just great. So I was like, this is his first time. It was his first time on the East Coast, first time at a convention, first time at a convention on the East Coast, and the last stop on a tour. And he's like a rock star life where he's like, he literally doesn't have a place to live. All he's been doing is traveling for like the last year. He's got a big audience in Europe, so he just travels all over the world. He's in North Carolina for this one thing, and then he's moving on, and he's going to continue. Like everything he has is in storage. So I was like, oh crap, this could actually be the only opportunity to see this guy, because who knows when he's coming back. He lives on the West Coast. So I was like, okay. So that's sort of my take on my side. So keep going, Andrew.
And one of the things that's so funny is after the conversation about the way Craig Thompson lives his life, I turned to Todd and said, don't you wish you could do that?
No.
He's like, no. He kind of likes having a wife and children in a home. But I said, what if you didn't have those things? And he's like, no, I still want to do it. I'm like, bullshit. You're full of crap. You know you would. You know you would love to create a book, take 2, 3, 4 years to create a book, and then travel the world, living in suitcases and
it sounds horrible. It sounds horrible. It sounds horrible.
There's a part of you that's like, that's so exciting. So I walk up, right, and of course he's at the end of the table, and Craig had already signed one thing for him. Todd had given him 3 things, two trade paperbacks and a hardcover. And he had signed the first trade, and he started to sign the second trade, and he hands it back to Todd, and then he starts to go to sign the hardcover. And Craig Thompson stops, and he looks up at him and says, your name's not Samuel, is it? And he said,
no, that's not what he said. That's not it. Oh, you missed it.
No, well, he said,
because he signs it to and the person's name, and he draws an image on there, and it's a beautiful sketch. And he said, oh, okay. He's like, he had signed a few, and then he said, oh, I got one more Samuel, and then you'll be all set. And I said, cool, but my name's not Samuel, it's Todd. And he
already signed it.
And he looked at me, and he was like, that's totally something I would do. I'm so sorry. That was the guy right before you.
Yep. And Todd was like, no big deal. No worries. No worries. And Todd told me later, he said, if he was doing that in the hardcover, I would have been pissed. I would have been really upset.
For context, I have like all his the books in hardcover and the soft cover. And with the one, so basically the one he did was his very first book. It's called Goodbye Chunky Rice. And I've had this since it came out. This is not my favorite book, but I liked it, so I got it when it came out. But it's not like, whatever. But yeah, so he wrote, I'll show you. So he did.
Thanks, Samuel.
Thanks, Samuel. Scratched it out, and he said, Todd. And he just drew the missing piece from the drawing right there. So for the rest of the day, Andrew was calling me Samuel.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing you got to know. I'm standing right there while this whole thing is happening. And I turned to Todd and I said, Todd, from this point forward, your name is Samuel. And he's like, oh God, he's rolling his eyes. And Craig Thompson's like apologizing and he's fixing things and making it great. And I get on my phone and I immediately start texting the group chat. Todd is now and forever will be known as Samuel. So says Craig Thompson. Everybody,
Yep.
And you guys probably got the message and went, what the F?
Who the hell is that?
Talking
Yeah.
about? That's right. Yeah. Like, oh, it's so wonderful. I said, Samuel. And what's so funny is Todd, we're walking away and Todd says, well, you know, I have a brother named Samuel. And I said, well, yeah, you could give the book to him. And he said, no freaking way. That's mine.
Yeah, you know, I'm not
It's
giving
my
that book
story.
away.
It's my book.
Yeah, I'm not giving him. He doesn't want comic book. Anyway, so
It was fun. We had a good time.
yeah,
And that was
yeah.
Saturday. That was the beginning of Saturday. That was in like the first half hour of our Saturday. All those things happened. It was
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. Also, and this is I'll get to one kind of a final thing, you know, the final thing I got right now, but for the second, but like have you heard, and I grabbed a sticker, and I'm actually genuinely curious about what you think, Andrew, as a retailer on this.
Mhm.
Okay. I grabbed the sticker and I was like, what's that? And then I looked it up later. Have you heard of this?
Comic Clear. Is that where the backboards are see-through?
Yes.
Yes, we were at a dealer who was showing those off to somebody, and I was just technically not paying attention. I heard what he said, but I wasn't following.
It's basically, I mean, from what I ended up looking it up, but basically it's like a thin piece of plexiglass,
Right.
essentially.
That's used as a backboard.
That's used
for
as a
comic.
backboard so you can see the back of your comic.
Right.
I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
I don't think they would be affordable enough for me to use them.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
but if I had a high dollar value collection and people wanted to be able to see the book front and back, it's an easy way. It's a wonderful, easy way to show them that and to share it with them. And I think the guy that we were at his booth and he was talking to somebody, he had handed them like it was Tick #1, like the first appearance of the Tick. And he was telling them about the backboard. And I really didn't even look up to see what it looked like or anything. I just heard him talking about it. But I mean, if you've got like I was at the Heroes booth looking through some stuff, and a guy was trying to buy the Punisher, first appearance of the Punisher, Amazing Spider-Man 138, whatever it is, I forgot. And the guys were showing it to him, and the guy took it out of the bag and you know, had gloves on, and when he was putting it back, he put it on like a black, you know, padded mat and was sliding it back in and being all careful with it. Had it been in one of those backboards, he wouldn't have taken it out of the bag and board, unless of course the guy wanted to see the inside.
right, you want to see
He could easily see the condition of it. The thing I thought was funny is that I don't know what the price on the book was, but he offered them $1,000 for it. And they were like, they were like hemming and hawing about it and said, well, we'd have to ask somebody higher up, and they're not available right now. They're busy, you know, running the show. So the guy's like, okay, well, I can always come back later. And I'm like, how much more did they have on that book? Now I know, and I did later on look it up, a 9.4 copy of that book goes for about $14,000.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't know what the condition of this one was for them to say $1,000, get the F out of here. But from what I could see, it looked nice. I mean, the guy even mentioned that it had been recently pressed and so forth. And so I don't know, but the guy was willing to plop down $1,000 right there and then, you know.
That's awesome.
I think depending on what my investment in it was, you know, I don't know. It's a good book.
Really quick,
It's a popular
really
book.
quick. I want to give a shout out to Rages. What up, buddy? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Happy Thursday. Yeah, I have a couple questions for you, Andrew, man, because I'm getting ready, I think, to organize one of my summer to-do list is to organize my comic stuff, because you can't see it. Like, this is actually pretty organized right here. And it's not the worst. I'm a little OCD, so it's not the worst. But over here, I have all the comics, and they're just kind of starting to pile over because I don't have enough boxes and places.
I've seen his office, and I am thoroughly disappointed.
What do you mean?
It's too hectic. It's stuff stacked on top of stuff. It's just nothing but piles and piles.
You're just saying, look at your background, bro. Give me a break. You're just making fun of me.
Background?
Dude, I live in organized chaos.
I know.
But
I know. To Andrew, my place looks spotless. To me, it really bothers me.
Just imagine what you're seeing right now is so organized, it's so anal that, and then you turn just a little bit to the left, and it's just boxes and boxes of shit on top of each other.
It's not that bad. It's like that. It gets a little hectic right there.
That is disgusting. I can't believe that you would let yourself go like that.
I know it's bad. I know.
Slob, you pig.
Yeah,
you should be ashamed of yourself. You're living in slop.
I need help. I need help. This is why I'm coming to you, Andrew. Because I've got two questions for you. Okay? Because I'm my one of my summer things is I'm gonna get it organized, I'm gonna make space, I'm gonna get it all hooked up. I've got this here, I'm gonna focus this. This was sort of my little special issue that I picked up. It was like $10. This is Strange Tales number 147. It's Jack Kirby art, Jack Kirby cover. I just thought I just saw the artwork. This happened to be one of the books I was looking at for adult fantasy stuff for the show, and I was like, oh shit, I could actually own the issue. Like, that's pretty cool. And it wasn't, it's not the best condition, but I don't care. Here's my question. The acetate, the Mylar archival acetate cover, you see how shiny that is? I'm thinking about maybe picking up. This is like a little different than your bags, right? This is thicker. Yeah. I'm thinking about picking up maybe like one pack, which I think is like 50, and putting some of like my favorite books in there.
Depending on how thick the thickness of the Mylar bag, they're very expensive.
Oh, are they? I don't know.
I don't keep mine in Mylar bags just because of
I only saw one. I didn't really look at the thickness. I thought they only came in one thickness.
Oh no. There's like really thin, like almost like tissue paper thin, and then there's thick, like almost like a top loader thick. They come in varying sizes.
Do you know what? Do you remember what this would be? I have no idea. Like it's not like, it's like a nice thickness though. Yeah, I know. Okay. By the way, the thing that's actually the other cool thing that's cool about this issue, tying into what we were talking about tonight, this issue actually has Stan. I don't know if it was technically a Stan soapbox, but Stan he's responding to stuff. He's talking about all the stuff that's coming out from Marvel, and he actually talks, I think for the first time, about the Marvel method. So he actually explains the Marvel method in this issue, which is actually pretty cool. It's really small. It's just like, yeah, I come up with the idea and then give it to everybody and they draw it, and then I come back and I do the letter. It's pretty basic, but it's still pretty cool where he's just like explaining like what the Marvel method is in there.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about doing this, and I have one more question for you that's kind of been on my mind, and this is a nerd question. For the longest time, I had thought that the way that I wanted to organize my books was by artist, because that's what I care about, right? So I don't want to necessarily go from Amazing Spider-Man to X-Men. I want to go, Adams, Buscema, so on and so forth, right? Now that I'm actually thinking about doing it, or going in the process of doing it, there's actually a little bit of a problem in that now I have to decide, like, if I go alphabetical by artist, then I'm going to have Fantastic Four issues, for example, over here, and I'm going to have Fantastic Four issues over here. I'll have Walter Simonson issues over here and Kirby issues over here, and so forth, whatever. And I don't know if I totally like that idea. I'm not really sure. So I'm not sure now if I should if I should go by artist or go by title. And I could always do what you're doing, Andrew, and go a step further and create a spreadsheet and just have it listed by artist and title in the spreadsheet, so I always know if I want to find all of my Buscema comics, I would be able to organize it and be like, okay, well, here's all the Buscema stuff. What would you guys do? I know it's a stupid idea, but Ray just says bad idea. Is the bad idea is putting it by artist? I should do it traditional.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're still going to have an issue, no matter how you do it. If you put it in alphabetical order, if you get issues, if you add to it, you're going to have to move stuff to other boxes.
Right.
You know, unless you had a box for X-Men, a box for Fantastic Four, a box for Avengers,
right,
and keep adding to those boxes, still you're going to fill those up, and then you're going to need more, and then you're going to, because I have to constantly move stuff around in my store to make room to fill holes, to fill spaces, you know?
Right.
It's a never ending struggle. And somebody once told me that the way they did it is they put it in chronological order. So if I bought 5 issues this month, those 5 issues go here. The next issues go here. Doesn't matter the title name, doesn't matter who the creative artist is, doesn't matter alphabetically. They put it in order of when they got it.
Oh, interesting.
Or when they came out. I think it was when they got it.
So well, if you do when you got it, how do you know if you get a Silvestri Wolverine here and you've got 6 Silvestri Wolverines over here? How do you consolidate?
It's when they. I think it wasn't when he got it. It's when they chronologically happened. Like this is 1980, 1981,
I see.
1982, that type of thing. Which
so chronologically, and then by title.
Right. But then you would still, like, if you got something that was from the 1980s, you'd have to put it in the middle of something. I think he did it as he got them himself. So, like, if he buys 5 new books, he puts them in the box. Next month, he buys 5 more books, he puts them behind him, and he just keeps going back. Title be damned, you know, artist be damned, issue be damned. It's when he bought them.
Well, how would you do it? Would you just do it by title? You just do it by title in the store because that's traditional.
Yeah. Well, that's how most people are going to look for them themselves, you know, title and number.
I just don't know. I like the idea of being able to be like, I want to look at this artist's work and just be like, boom, there's all the stuff that I have on that artist.
Now the question is every single book you own because of artists?
Yeah.
Okay, well then do it by artist.
But then I'm splitting up.
Do it chronologically by artist. So if you have Frank Miller, you do his early works on Daredevil, then you follow that up with Sin City, and then you follow that up with his covers on the new Marvel stuff, which absolutely freaking suck. You know, you do it that way. I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it, but do it the way that makes you happy. But Ray
just says I should do it by title and then by artist, which could work. Like do it, like put it in order by title and then shuffle the artist.
Have a Fantastic Four run, whether it be Buscema, Simonson, Art Adams, whoever. Do a Fantastic Four run. I doing it by artist. I would, if there was like one specific artist, like if all I collected was Art Adams, I would have an Art Adams box. Be damned what title it is. But for every single artist, for every single comic you own, you're just getting yourself into a bigger plot of headaches.
Well, because there's so many. You think there are more artists than titles?
No, I think it's because if you let's say, for example, you had a John Byrne box, right? And you added stuff to this John Byrne box and you put it in order by title and it's just all John Byrne stuff. And then you get something new, you got to put it in the middle depending on where it is, and it may end up going into another box. You're adding potential nightmares. You know?
I see. Like if it had to continue into a different box.
Yep. And you had to make
but you have to do that with titles anyway, don't you? When you organize it by title, you have to do the same thing.
Well, that all depends. Are you going back to fill in holes in titles? Like, are you going to have a Wolverine run that starts with the original limited series, then goes into the John Buscema stuff, and then
no.
Yeah. But if you were a completist, you would have to.
Right, but I'm not. It's well, I'm a completist now. I'm a completist in like reader copies of, so like, do I want the complete Buscema run of Wolverine? Yeah, I do, but that's because of Buscema's art. Like, I don't care about the story really.
Well,
Ray just says should line up somewhat chronologically that way as well. That's true. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe then title and then artist. Like, I like the chronological thing. I never really thought of. I never thought of like actually putting it in, by timeline. I mean, I guess you kind of are when you're putting like issue 86, then 87 and 88. You're automatically putting it chronologically.
If you think about it this way, if you put it in order of when you got it, you would have to start now. You couldn't go back. You wouldn't know when all that stuff. But like, you take a box and you say, okay, I bought these 50 books at a convention. They're going in here. And then you go to a store and you buy 5 books. You put it here. Be damned title or number, And that would make it actually easy for you to identify, okay, when did I buy that? Okay, I bought that issue last week. It's going to be right here, But I don't know if that helps you. I don't know if
that would confuse the hell out of me.
Your anal retentive organizational abilities would be able to work with it.
No, what I want to do is in my daydream, and I think maybe Ray just has the right idea, but like when in my daydream, I want to be able to be like, you know what? I want to look at Brian Hitch. And so I go to H and I look at Hitch and I just like see all the work that I have of Brian Hitch. And
I think your daydream would be every single issue you have is up on the wall where you can see it.
I'm going to do that.
Walk around your house and go, there's my Alex Ross collection right there.
I used to have it. I used to have something like that.
I know. That's why I'm saying that is your.
I had a comic book wall. Yeah, no, I'm going to put that wall back up. That wall is coming back.
You have a house for a reason. Decorate the
wall. Push pin my wall for thousands of comics.
I'm sure your wife would love it.
She would love it. She'd be super happy with that.
She would be thrilled.
It would be an amazing experience. We would have.
Don't you? That's what you have a basement for. It's what you have a whole bottom floor for. To decorate the walls.
Yeah.
Every inch of the wall is covered in comics.
My kids would love it. Dude, hey, guess what book I got my oldest into? Guess what book she really, really digs?
Are you asking me or are you asking
I am. I'm asking. Well, I'm asking in general.
Well, I already know she likes Runaways.
God damn it. Well, there you go. Runaways. So
I thought I was there when you bought her.
I know. Well, but we're talking.
Why were you asking me?
I'm just having a conversation. What, Todd? Runaways. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Oh, geez, I never knew that.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Andrew.
Now, so in my 50 Cent diving, I found a copy of X-Men 97, a current copy or a recent copy, where it was an alternate cover by Scotty Young. And it was of the character Storm, who has a very special place in Todd's heart. And I told him, I said, hey, you should get this signed by Scotty Young and put it aside for your daughter. Like, she would absolutely love it.
Got pause. Ray just says he's got a Diamondbacks game that started. He's got to step out. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for showing up, Ray. See you soon.
You can always watch the replay later because there's good stuff coming. Good stuff coming. All right, is he gone? All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Make you watch the whole thing just for us to say, let's wrap it up. Okay,
yeah, that's good.
Well, at the time, we were walking around, and Scotty Young was at his table talking to somebody. Todd walked up, handed him the book. He signed it, handed it back to Todd, and we walked off. No fuss, no muss, no anything, right? Well, I was watching a guy who made a video where he literally just for a half hour walked around the entire convention floor. And when he got to Scotty Young's table, he said, "This is Scotty Young, and this is his line." And he had this really, really long line. Todd literally just walked right up to him, had him sign it, and walked off. I don't even think you said thank you, did you?
I did. Of course I did.
He did. But
he didn't have a line. He didn't have a line.
He did not have a line at that time. But in the video that the guy made, he had a long line.
Yeah.
Has she seen that book yet?
Oh yeah, she loved it. She likes the character, but she doesn't know anything about the character.
Right.
So now I have to educate her about the character.
Has she flipped through the book, or has she just seen it? Does she? Because that's something I think she should frame and put on her wall. You know.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I was gonna just frame it. Yeah, I was gonna put it up or something.
Okay, but she has seen it and she knows what it is.
Yeah, she digs it. But it's hard because she's like, "Oh, it's really cool." She likes the artwork and she thinks the character looks cool, but she doesn't know anything. There's no connection there because she doesn't know the character.
Because it's signed and the character, they put it up on. That's why when you said, "Guess what new book she's into?" I'm like, "Oh my God, signed Scotty Young books."
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, she loves tearing those apart.
We actually got a lot of things signed this.
Yeah.
This is probably my biggest signing year ever, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think my goal for next year, besides getting Avery and Ramel up here, the next thing I want to do is I really want to get Dusty into some of these comic conventions. I think he'd have a blast, an absolute blast at some of these conventions.
Yeah, I think he'd be bored out of his mind.
I don't know, man. You think?
Yeah, they don't sell
might be a little deep for me. It might be a little deep.
They don't sell NFTs at these conventions, so
I feel like there's gonna be people in costumes, and I don't know about that.
This show doesn't have that many. There are a few, but it's not.
Okay.
You go to MegaCon and they have the parade of Deadpools. I mean, or the
Yeah.
parade of Stormtroopers and Clone Warriors, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little. I don't know. It's Heroes Con is wonderful because it's old school. It's what all of the conventions used to be, which is just comics and comic books and comic book artists.
Comic creators, yep.
And comic creators. It's New York City and San Diego is more carnival. It's a little more like in New Orleans.
When you go to New York Comic Con and there's a big, huge display for Mazda. Tell us how you really feel, Todd.
Sorry.
Burped into the microphone. Everybody heard it.
Wait, I don't know why you heard that. I apologize. That was horrible.
Yeah,
well, Andrew, in defense of Mazda, the cars they put out are comic book themed, and they're very well done. At least
I don't care. I just made up a company name. I don't even know if Mazda's a real thing.
It was actually, last time I was there, it was actually Dodge. So, Buy American.
Well, yeah, exactly. Buy American. I mean, basically, what Andrew's trying to say is like New York and San Diego are more like if you're into video games and statues and toys and more pop culture movies and movie stars and TV shows, novels, fantasy novels, like it's everything. It's all of pop. They're less they call them comic book cons or comic cons, but they're really pop culture cons. So New York is a pop culture convention now, and San Diego is a pop culture convention. But Heroes Con is a comic book convention. It is what they all used to be. It's kind of like, I hate to say a little glimpse into the past, but it's kind of a little glimpse into the past, Anyway, we got to get Dusty here because I think you would have a lot of fun.
We got 10 minutes left. You want to see the signed books I got? I'll keep it short.
Yeah, no, go for it. Let's do it. I'm tired of talking. Go for it.
Okay, cool. Of course, I have the Batman Batgirl with the Brian Stelfreeze cover, which fan favorite right here. I got to meet Ron Lim and got him to sign two things. The two things I got him to sign was Superman Silver Surfer crossover, where he signed it right down here, Ron Lim. And I also got him to sign my copy of Spider-Man Unlimited #1, part of the Maximum Carnage storyline, and featuring the first appearance of the character Shriek, who was in the last, not the last, before last Venom movie with Carnage. I got 2 books signed by Jenny Frison. The first one is the new Exquisite Corpses, which I really have enjoyed.
I had never really heard of her before, but she had a line around the block, bro.
Oh yeah,
like for 3 days, she was just signing nonstop.
This is the one that I specifically wanted to go for. This is Department of Truth #1. This is the variant that she did. And then I got to meet Art Adams again, and he signed my Alien Worlds 3D, which is not his first work in comics, but his first published work in comics. And he also, I was flipping through some other stuff. I have a, where is it at? I just saw it the other day. Oh, this is going to piss me off. I don't know where it's at. Oh well, I shouldn't have brought it up, but I got 2 other books, one of them signed by Art Adams, which is the Art of Art Adams book. Got him to sign that one, and it's
I kind of regret not getting that hardbound.
And then the other book that I picked up, which I did not get signed, but I have it anyway, is the Bruce Timm Naughty and Nice book.
That's such a gorgeous book.
Gorgeous. Now, and I'll be honest with you, there's lots of pages in here of naked and half naked ladies, and they kind of get repetitive. But there's also some pages in here with, like, barbarian women and so forth, which this is a page I can show and be okay with, where he's got his pencils and then his colors. Just some gorgeous stuff. He's got such a great style, and his art is very fantastic.
Simple but brilliant.
Yep, wonderful. And I hate to say it, but now that next time I go to a convention like this, I'm getting more signatures. I'm getting more stuff signed. I'm so excited. And where the heck is that? I had a book or a magazine that I had Art Adams sign years ago. I don't know what I did with it. I know I have it somewhere. Where did I put it? Oh, maybe this is it. There goes all my stuff. It's Organized Chaos. It is the comic book. Spotlight on the Art of Art Adams, and I got him to sign it back in, what year is this? 2000.
Is that 5?
2000 and it might be 2002, 2007. Anyway, it was at a Heroes Con, or no, this was a New York Con. This is the first thing I ever got him to sign, and it was great. It was great. I may get this frame just to put it up on my wall, But what's so funny is if you look at his signature on this one, where you can see Art at, what is that, 2002?
2002, I think.
Yeah. You see how his signature is here? And if you look at his signature on this book, he's kind of simplified it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And you can still tell the Adams, but he doesn't spell out Arthur anymore. He just scribbles it.
Interesting. Yeah, he adjusted it.
That's where it needs to be. Oh, what all did I drop?
What else did you get? Is that it?
Yeah, that was it. Well, most everything else I got was comics for the store and so forth. And I already taken a lot of that stuff to the store and already sold a whole bunch of it. I got stuff for some of my regulars who were looking for. I got some Conan magazines for one of my guys. I got some Scalp Hunter DC issues for another guy, and I just Warlord issues for another guy. I got a bunch of stuff that my customers were very happy with. So love it. And I am going to go and actually open up the store for a few hours tomorrow. The flea market's open, so I might as well. I've got nothing else going on in the morning, so may go in for a few hours and we'll see what we can do. See if we can make some sales. Not too excited that there's going to be sales, but we'll find out. holidays are usually kind of slow. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could imagine. So
give me an opportunity to do some cleaning and some straightening up.
Well, so that's a good ending, maybe an ending loop. Like tomorrow is the 4th of July. God bless America. And what are you guys planning to do for 4th of July? I mean, obviously Andrew is going to be doing the store.
Going to work at the store for a few hours, then go to a pool party, invited by my daughter and her husband. Some friends of theirs are throwing a pool party, and hopefully avoid the raindrops because it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
I am going to the beach, and I'm going to do some writing, and then assuming it's not raining, going to go see the fireworks, and then I got to get to bed early because I got a very long drive to Virginia on Saturday.
Nice.
Well, drive safely, please.
I'm going to turn my phone off and hide from Todd.
Are we working tomorrow, Dusty? I don't even know. Is that a thing? I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. Yeah, I haven't. I don't even know. Avery, what are you doing, man? What are you going to do for 4th of July? Oh, maybe he's having audio issues. Nope.
Nothing.
Right. You're just hanging out?
Dealing with bullshit.
Well, I understand that. Figures. Well, happy 4th of July anyway. Happy 4th of July anyway.
That's to everybody.
Well,
that's to everybody.
Everybody. That's everybody. Yeah, it's an awesome time, and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite American holidays. So
it's happy 4th of July to the entire world.
That's right. I think it should be celebrated everywhere, and everywhere it's not celebrated, we should force them to celebrate it.
That's right.
Liberation Day. It's Liberation Day.
Next year is going to be very exciting.
Why?
It's the 250th anniversary.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. They're going to have a whole. Apparently, they're going to do the whole year as a parade. Like they're going to celebrate the entire year, which is going to be cool. And also, I saw this as a meme, and I thought I'd share, is apparently as of Tuesday or Wednesday. I think yesterday, Wednesday. As of Wednesday, July 2nd. As of Wednesday, July 2nd, we are now closer to 2050 than we are to the year 2000.
Okay.
Which I don't know. It just kind of sounded funny. Just because the year 2000 doesn't sound that long ago, but we're actually closer in time to 2050.
2000 doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was. It was.
It was a while ago. I know. It's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
Time fucking flies.
All right, let's wrap this stuff up. Got work to do.
Absolutely. Love you guys. Happy Thursday. Happy Friday on Thursday. Happy 4th of July. We'll be here next week. Have a great weekend. God bless. Peace out. All that good stuff.
Next
Take care.
Week, regular time.
Next week.